Hi, I'm Jackie Van Kampen, intuitive guide and energy healer. And welcome to this week's spirit guide message and energy transmission for week of March 29th. And I was actually sitting here wondering what was I going to talk about for this week. And what really came to me is this idea of being in the flow and being an allowance of co-creating with the universe, co-creating with who you truly are. And why am I saying this? Because sometimes we kind of fall out of alignment with who we are, how we operate in the world, and what truly allows us to go and be in the flow with our true nature. And there are times, of course, where you're going to be asked to step into a greater version of yourself. And this is something that I've been in conversation with, with friends and both myself, like within my own self too, about how we meet that version of ourselves, the future version of ourselves, the self that we envision, right? So when we think about the self that is, maybe 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 18 months from now, 5 years from now, right? We may have an idea or an image of who that person is, right? How is that person showing up? What are they doing? What are the actions they're taking? Who are they being, in their own relationships? Who are they being out in the world? And there are times when we get stuck with wanting to be that version of ourselves right now. And even though it's super important, of course, to start to act as if and to also take the action steps to, what would that person who is us in the future do today? So I wanted to really speak about that because I feel that sometimes we can get stuck on the image, the ideal version of ourselves, and we expect perfection. We expect that today we are going to be that person. We expect that our actions going to match that person that we envision. Who would that person be? What would they be doing? And it's great because we want to meet that person, right? We want to meet ourselves in that gap. What becomes a problem or becomes an issue is when we start to operate from a place of wanting to be perfect, wanting that version of ourselves to be here right now. And so what happens is we stop taking action. We may start to feel, low levels of depression. We may not want to take any risks. We may feel like we're not enough. And these particular things will become the obstacle for us to really meet that version of ourselves. And so what I want to say, my guidance or my message for you today is to really sit with that, version of yourself, the idealized version of who you are. And it's not even like an ideal, and it's not like you're looking at that person in the future and going like, oh, I'm not her yet, or she's just some kind of fantasy. It's more like, okay, I know that I'm going to get there. I know who that person is. I can see it. I can see her, I can see him, like I see that for myself, and that's amazing, right? So it's an invitation to bring that person from the future into the now, but not to, for you to be her right now or be him right now, but really to have a dialogue of what it's like to take the action steps to get there, right? And you're going to make mistakes along the way. You're going to trip along the way, but it's by trial and error that you become that version of yourself, right? It's that version of yourself. It's not just somewhere out in the future who is waiting for you to be her. You have to transform from within, right? You have to get uncomfortable with yourself. You have to look at the parts of yourself that sometimes will get in the way of you walking that bridge between who you are today and who you want to be tomorrow. And we, like the conversation here is about being graceful with ourselves as we walk that bridge, right? Being compassionate with ourselves as we meet ourselves halfway. Being loving towards ourselves when we fall and make a mistake, when we don't show up perfectly, when we when we don't want to take the action steps necessary to get there. And when I think of like my own self, in the future, I see this person who is, serving so many people, and I see myself as, like the job, I have a full-time job right now, right? So I see that vision of myself, the future person who, that I'm striving to be, as someone who's doing this work full time, who is, giving maybe, I don't know, writing another book, or, I have a sold out program or whatever it is, right? So I see that version of myself. And so because I see that version of myself, I also notice that I get overwhelmed with everything that I need to do to get there, right? And so because of that overwhelm, then I don't want to do anything. Like I just be like, I don't know if I really want to be her. And I remind myself that it's okay to have compassion for where I am today. And I can only meet myself as that woman I see in the future by taking the small action steps today. Even doing this video, right? Even coming here every week and recording a video. Sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes I don't know what I'm going to say. Sometimes, I just ask myself, do I really want to do this? And the answer is always yes, I do want to do this. And yes, I don't feel like doing it right now. And yes, I'm going to face it and I'm going to do it anyway. Because for me to be that future version of myself, this is what is required, right? What is required is me getting out of my comfort zone. What is required is me embracing when, that part of myself that is afraid of taking the steps. It looks like me, having compassion for myself when, I make a video that sucks and may not get as, much engagement or views or whatever the conversation is, right? So I'm being super real here because I feel sometimes we see people who are already advanced or who are doing the things that we want to do, like we see people who are doing what our future selves are going to be doing, and we trip up because what they're showing is the polished version, or the edited version of the work. And maybe they had to do a lot of work to get there, and maybe they have shared in the past, or maybe they have not shared what it takes to get there. And I feel it's really important to acknowledge that there are going to be times when it's going to be hard, and there are going to be times you're going to want to give up, and there are going to be times when you're going to be in question, like, do I really want to do this because it feels uncomfortable? And if you keep answering yes, yes, I want to do this. Yes, I want to keep going. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Then it's so much easier to meet yourself where you are right now, right? Meet yourself where you are right now. Because if you can't meet yourself where you are right now, you're not going to you're not going to be able to walk the bridge to that future version of yourself. It's just not going to happen. you may see yourself change, of course, because we're constantly in the state of evolution, right? But that vision that you have, she may just be an idealized vision, right? When we hold ourselves up, like the future version of ourselves up on a pedestal, it's always going to seem impossible to get there, because we are going to see that part of ourselves as the perfect part that we want to strive to be. But we're not going to be able to really do the things that take to get there, because we don't want to fail, right? We don't want to fail that idealized version of ourselves. But if we can remember that it's who we are today, with the mistakes that we make, with the struggles that we have, with the patterns that we have right now, that we are challenging ourselves to break through, that is going to lead us to that version of ourselves, the future version of ourselves. So my encouragement, or my guidance, or spirit guided message, that you want to call it, is really to embrace the now, to embrace the person you are in this moment, to meet yourself right here, right now, inviting that future version of yourself into the conversation, and asking, okay, I see you. It's like looking in the mirror, right? But when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're seeing that future version. And you can look at that self and be like, okay, what is it going to take for me to get there? What is it going to take for me today to be you tomorrow? And sitting in a space of curiosity, sitting in a space of wonder of what's going to take to get there, right? Sitting with the discomfort that you're going to have to do things that you're not familiar with, right? Because remember, discomfort is just you not being familiar with something. So sitting with all of that, sitting with, having to look at the parts of yourself today that you're going to have to change. The thought patterns, the belief systems, the behaviors that are, the obstacles that you're going to have to face, right? The fear that you're going to have to face to become that version of yourself. And it's in that relationship, right? It's in the relationship between who you are today and your future self. That bridge, you can call it a bridge, you can call it a relationship, you can call it a path, a journey, I don't care what you call it. But the point, right, from here to here, is what's going to, it's this line right here, and it's not always linear. I'm just saying this because it's easier, it's a visual, right? But it's going from here to here. It's the in-between that is going to transform you, right? But you here, you'll have to walk that path to meet this person right here. So my invitation for you this week is to be in a place where you're curious of what it's going to take to meet that person over here, and to invite her in, right, to meet you halfway. Meet you halfway. When you're in conversation with yourself, meet yourself halfway and ask questions. Okay, well, what did it take to get here today, to meet this future self? Ask the future self, what does it take? What did it take? What did I have to change? What did I have to transform? What fears did I have to look in the face? What behaviors and patterns did I have to shift to become you? And then, you're going to get an awareness, an answer, whatever, right? Use your intuition. This is why you have an intuition, to be able to meet parts of yourself. So sit with that, sit with those questions this week, and see what comes up, journal, take notes. It's going to get uncomfortable because the future part of yourself may tell you things that you don't want to hear. And you may reject that part. You may be like, I don't want to. I'm going to avoid this part of it. Just be in curiosity. Okay, what is it going to take? Like, be an allowance of yourself to show up in all your ways. Be an allowance of yourself to show up in all ways. That might look like an angry version of you is going to show up. An upset version of you is going to show up. An excited version of you is going to show up. And instead of judging any of those parts that show up, be with them. Be with them as an observer. Be curious. What are they bringing to you right now that you need to look at? And if it's something that feels uncomfortable, if it's a version of you that you would reject in the past, be with that version of yourself. Be with that, thought. Be with that awareness that you're getting, that knowledge that's coming up for you. And be curious about what it has to share with you. What does it want to teach you? Because it's in that process of learning about yourself, learning about all the different aspects, from the different aspects of yourself, that you're going to have the courage to walk that bridge, to meet that future self. So work with your body. Working with your body is very important, right? So whenever you start to feel the triggers in the body, the discomfort, the wanting to look away, breathe. Breathe into those spaces. Breathe into those parts of the body that are being triggered. Breathe into your nervous system to help calm your nervous system down. And ask yourself, okay, well, I'm here. I'm getting these answers, awarenesses. Is any of the stuff that I'm being told about myself true? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Can I sit in this space and not judge myself for any of this? Can I just be curious? Can I just observe? Can I love myself through it? Can I be with myself without abandoning myself when the parts that I don't want to look at come up? And maybe one way you can do that is by picturing a small child, like yourself as a small child, telling you these things. Most likely you wouldn't be shushing that child, right? You would want to know, like, okay, I'm here for you. Tell me what's in your mind. Tell me what's in your heart. Tell me, where am I holding these triggers in my body? What does my soul really want? So that's your homework for the week, is to sit in a space of questioning. To me, it's the invitation here is to invite your future self to meet with your present self, and for you to ask questions of that future self, and to be with, as if you're doing an interview, right? I'm just sitting here interviewing my future self. What questions do you want to ask that future self, right? Pretend that you're doing an interview and write things down. See what comes up. So it's about being in a state of observation. It's about being in a state of allowance and grace and compassion and self-love. Just for this week. Next week, maybe there's something else will come up. So let yourself be in a space of trust and grace and allowance this week. And compassion for your past self and compassion for your present self. Okay? So I know I didn't bring the guides in today and I didn't do any energy transmission, but I felt like this message was really important because I know that sometimes we get stuck when we are trying to meet, you know, that version of yourself, of ourselves that we maybe idealize and seems kind of impossible to get to. It's not impossible, but it is about having grace for yourself now and knowing that it's by falling down, by making mistakes, by failing at times, that you learn, that you transform, that you heal, and you become that version of yourself. By the way, I am launching a new program, launching April 7th, and it's called Homecoming, a Return to Self. And it's a 4-week circle where, you know, I dive deep into guiding you back home to your body. So really looking at, you know, what are the triggers that the body is holding? The body holds a lot of memories, right? So really developing a healthy relationship with your body. Coming home to the heart, to that place within you that is, you store your wisdom, right? Your inner knowing. And then coming home to your soul, like your purpose, your mission here on this planet in this lifetime, right? Coming home to that. And then coming home to the mind. And it's interesting that I left the mind last because the mind is, sometimes it's what causes issues. So when you have the heart, the body, the soul aligned, it's easier to come home to the mind because the mind is the engine that will help you build, right? Build foundations, build, you know, whatever it is, build the structures for your dreams to come to fruition, right? For your wisdom to show up, for you to take care of your body. So I'm super excited about it. I'm going to leave the link below so that you can look at the information and join me. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please share this video. There is good nuggets here that I feel like could be very helpful for someone who is stuck in idolizing their future self and not moving forward. And subscribe so that you can be notified when I post my next video. Much love to you this week. Feel free to comment, message me. I love to hear from you and see how you are doing. Mwah. Much love. Bye.